Today I'm going to do an updated review on the MK-328. This is a replacement unit that came in, and so it came in this flimsy plastic bag. It actually came in from Ontario, but it took almost 3 weeks to get it here. And this box here that it came in, as you can see, it's a little bit worse for wear, but the piece came in. Now I've taken it out already, so but this one actually did have a manual, where the other one did not have a manual. Came in with this part here, same as before. It was wrapped inside this bubble wrap, so that was okay, and it came with the 3 clips. So actually it didn't come with 2. This is from the old one. I was testing out to see if it would fit in this piece here, and actually this one does, but I don't know if the other one, see, this one does not. This is, as you can see, this one does not fit in here. This is the original that came in from with the other one, so this is, at least it got this right. So this aside, and the one thing I noticed is for this battery here that you put in back, it's almost, there's a certain way of having to put it in, otherwise you won't be able to put the lid on here. And I found that you actually have to put it in this way. As you can see, there's a bit of a notch there, and so the battery, for it to fit, you have to have it so that it's right in there, like that. Push it in, and then you have to tuck these wires in, otherwise the lid will not fit. And I found that the easiest way to do that is to tuck the wires in with a screwdriver or something to get the wires into the back. Otherwise, I said, the lid will not fit in here, unfortunately. Wires a little bit longer. They're kind of a stiff wire. It's not really a nice silicone base type of a thing. So now the wires will go in properly, and the lid will close. I found that if you try to put it the other way, I wasn't able to close and put the lid back on properly. Alright, so the other thing I noticed on this particular model that I got is the screen is slightly scratched. There was no protective screen on this one, so I don't know why. The other one had a protective screen, so this one didn't, so it's slightly scratched. As you can see, that there's some scratches on there. It does come on. The manual, here is a look at the manual. It's very well laid out and includes pictures of some of the functions. This is the same that came with the MK-328, but it's much easier to read. You will want to pay attention to section 6 for the in-depth function details. I will put a link in the notes below if you'd like to read it. Of course, the clips are of the most inexpensive versions. They are very flimsy. That's probably the first thing that's going to break on there, but other than that, for now it's good. So turn it on. This actually comes on properly. Gives you a battery reading, and so then connect some connectors here, and nice that it shuts off. Do a calibration on this unit. It's supposed to only ask for 1 capacitor when it needs to be calibrated, but in my case it's actually asking for 2 different capacitors. So I have 2 of them here. So here's reading 1026 or 1.026 microfarads. So we're going to calibrate it and see what happens and see if we actually get better results after it's calibrated. So push this and hold, and it should go into, it doesn't always do this, so okay, so we go into self-test, and first it's going to, okay, hold it long enough. You have to hold for about 5-6 seconds to actually activate it. I hate these single button functions. Okay, press and hold, goes. You have to short out the connectors, do that. Resistance. Now, yes, to remove the short. Okay, so it's asking for capacitor to test, and it'll calibrate it. The book says it only needs one capacitor. This asks for a second capacitor later on. At least it did last time I tried this. See, so it's asking for a second capacitor now. So I had to dig and find one, and I did. This is a Mylar capacitor, and it's finished. So, all right, so now I will go and press and hold. See what does the show data show? I guess it gives you the information that went through calibration. The various screens. All right, so we'll switch it off. All right. So now let's test these capacitors. So see if it's gotten any better. Let's check the big one first. See how accurate or different we get from this meter here. 985 nanofarads, and we're reading 1005. Okay. And this one reads 19.88 nano, and here it will read 19.9. there we go. We'll go through some of the menus here. Frequency, you can actually press and hold. You can change the frequency that it tests. You can adjust the frequency. Frequency generator. It's to 1 Hertz. Change that. Pulse width modulation. Set at 50%. What this actually means. This is for resistors and coils in series between. So you can change some of the settings here. Your correction factor for your microfarad set to 0%, but you can correct it if you have a precise value. You can, I guess, enter it in here. Self-test. Contrast, I'm not going to change it because you can adjust this, but you have to go all the way down or until you come back. So it's basically it revolves, goes all the way to the bottom, and then starts all the way from the top. And you end up not seeing the screen, as you can see. I don't want to do this because I've done it once before. Show data, switch off, and transistor. Go in transistor mode. You can also have it so that you can test it. So you can test a bunch of parts in sequence without it shutting off. There's somewhere's in here. I haven't figured it out yet. Let's see if I can attach. Not sure why you would switch it to transistor mode, because it already automatically detects the device as soon as you attach it to it. So this is a MOSFET. TRIAC electrolytic capacitor. Doesn't matter whether it's which pin, it'll automatically detect the pins of how you've got them connected. So capacitor, ESR 0.04 ohms. 9%. And let's see, what does it read on the other capacitor meter? I have another meter coming in that I purchased from AliExpress, and it's not going to be here for a while yet. It's much more accurate. Sorry, I'm going the wrong way here. Reads 1.05. And let's see, what does it read again here? Pretty close. Look at that. Almost dead on in comparison to the 2 meters. So I'm very happy with this meter so far. It's got some little things that bug me, but like it doesn't have no power switch. You have to use this button. You have to constantly use this to select everything. It does have an auto shut off, so that's good. It really does use the battery a fair amount. It's already down to 8.6 volts, and and at 7 something volts, it will give you an error saying that your battery is low. So going to test an inductor here. This is about the only one that I have for now. Now this has some limitations on the actual measurement of inductors. So let's just try this one in the transformer and see. It does pick it up, so just wanted to show you a screen of what you would see if you were doing an inductor. So there you go, 867 microhenries, 38 kilohertz, Q of 25. Right, so that's that. Now, this is from the same kit. So let's, since it's got 3 things on there, let's put this on here, this board on here, and let's plug that sucker in here and see what it does. Turn it on. And this is a MOSFET. There's the information there. Zoom in here and see here the screen of what you see, and gives you the pins, it gives you the gate, gives you everything you want to know about this particular little device. And let's try this one here. This is just a PNP, and it's got more information on here. So there's your it gives you the pins. So this is going to be a useful tool. It's probably not the most accurate tool, but really, I was looking for something that was just a quick and dirty test for this, and for more accurate, especially for inductors or capacitors, I would probably use the other one. And when my other unit comes in, I'll do a review on that one. So, all right. Now let's test a Zener diode. So, this is a 4.3 volts 1N4731. So let's see what it shows. There we go. Testing the 2 different capacitor functions here. So I've got this capacitor on here. It's going to read it and give me a reading. And this is a 470. So it's got an ESR of 3.13 ohms. V loss of 2.4%. And it reads at 462 microfarads. Now there is another function, and so we're just going to discharge this capacitor here, and I'm going to short out the leads just to make sure it doesn't affect. And if you go in power cycle it here, I have to shut it off, and I'm going to go into the menu mode, and in here you select this mode here, press and hold, it'll give you that menu there, and we will turn this on here. And so here it just gives you your ESR and capacitor value. It's a special function mode in the system. This is the special function mode for capacitor and ESR. If I push and hold, it goes into that mode, measures, gives you your ESR value. If you go click back on, it goes backwards into the menu, and then you can select and go back to the standard reading, now it stays in that mode, capacitor. If I want to go, I can actually put as a correction if I find that there's a correction that I need to put in here. Self-test mode, contrast, transistor mode, frequency. You can actually do a frequency generator, and the frequency generator will let you actually go up from 1 hertz to 2 megahertz. It's not a very good signal. I'll show you a picture of the frequency that's generated, and it's a horribly dirty signal. As you notice here, the 100 kilohertz square wave is extremely noisy, and the 2 megahertz signal is very distorted. You can also adjust the frequency. So if you set your frequency generator, say, to 100 kilohertz, you can actually adjust your pulse width modulation in this menu here. So once you set your pulse width modulation, you can go to the generator, and it'll actually adjust the frequency with the pulse width modulation setting that you have here. An example would be, so if I set this up here, right now it's set to 50%. So it'll be on, off 50% of the time. You can change that just by clicking on here, and it'll go up and down. I'm not going to do that because it's, to cycle back to the 50, you got to go all the way backwards. And you have to literally go all the way up and then come back up to the 50%. So I'm not going to do that. As you can see here. Now, if I was to go to the frequency, and unfortunately you have to actually click to each mode and go to frequency generator, click on there, and this is how you adjust the frequency. It's really it's an annoying way of doing it, but you push and hold for 2 seconds, it'll change it. So there's your 10 hertz. Then you push again for 2 seconds, and it goes up to kilohertz until you hit one more, and then it'll give you an R. See, there's 10 kilohertz. If you go up one, then now you can actually go all the way up to 2 megs. Now, I'm not quite sure what they're talking about here on this frequency. I have no idea what they're talking about here. If it means the frequency is plus 90, this case 290, I have no idea what they're talking about here. I measured it. The frequency is not very stable, unfortunately. It goes up to 2 megs, and then it goes back to the lower frequencies. Okay. So it's not something I would be using, that's for sure. It's like I say, if you were really at pinch and you needed something, I suppose you could do it. And it's between pins 1 and 2. Pin 2 being the output that you would connect. Pin 1 being ground. And so that's what these menus are for. You can do a self-test, contrast. If you go to contrast, this is what happens. It's set to 99, but if I change it, it will go all the way down. You won't be able to see the screen, and watch what happens. And then it's very annoying. And then again, you have to keep on pushing it to get to that function, and it's very easy to miss a particular function or to get back to the same. Press and hold, you click on it, keep on clicking on it, and you can see the screen is going to go now down to 0, and so I have to go all the way back up until it reaches. Isn't this annoying? Like, honestly, not something. And then you push and hold. And to switch it off. Now I've got this hooked up to a power supply because it uses up a lot of battery when I was using it. So right now it's is reading that it's reading and it's using 35 milliamps. But I was going through my 9-volt battery fairly quickly, so I hooked it up to a power supply. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to actually put a power supply connector on here. I've ordered them, and that way I can use a 9-volt power supply. Just plug it into here, and I don't have to worry about draining the battery. And also, if I'm not using it, I don't really have to worry about the battery going bad on me. And so for me, if I'm using it a lot, especially if, say, testing transistors or whatever, then it'll make more sense using a power supply than having to use the battery, because like I said, it kills the battery fairly quickly. And that's it. Let's see, show data. So the revision of the software, I'm not sure if you can actually do an update of the software. Be interesting to know if you could do that. I haven't found any way of doing that. And switch off, push and hold, and it shuts it off. So what do you think? Let me know with a comment below. If you appreciate this video, give it a thumbs up and maybe subscribe for more like this. I will see you next time.